Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Segal. I'm at Joe Segal on Twitter. I'm in the Los Angeles area in California, and I'm, as you can see, a supporter of Bernie Sanders, an admirer of Bernie Sanders. I greatly appreciate what he's done throughout his career and in this run for the presidency, where he's run against enormous odds against the most powerful political family machine, the Clinton family in this country in my lifetime, and basically stood up against every powerful group there is in the nation, the mass media, the Democratic Party establishment, the military industrial complex, the insurance industrial complex, and what else? The banking industry, the billionaires, the richest people in the country and the planet. And have I missed anything? Well, just every powerful establishment, status quo, entity, individual there is. Bernie Sanders stood up and said, wait a minute, what's going on today cannot continue. There are too many people suffering in this great country of ours. There are too many people dying unnecessarily, be it in wars or because we're not getting the health care we need and deserve. That's a human right, because we're not getting access to quality health care, and we're not getting access to equal opportunity under the justice system. People are being locked up, having their lives ruined, even beaten and shot because their skin is black or they're Mexican, and the system is making money off of incarceration. And that's immoral. And people are living on our streets because they can't afford to pay rent, because our rent is so high and our income is as stagnant, hasn't gone up, because of these horrible trade deals that have benefited the big corporations but not the working class. In fact, they've harmed our working class, because we need people to make things in America and have a middle class. We need to keep making things, inventing things, selling things, buying things, having main streets where we shop and meet people and conduct business. And we can't all make money off of having Subway shops and McDonald's and McThis and McThat and low wage jobs and serving people coffee and driving, Ubering them the donor class around in our cars to survive, working 2 or 3 jobs, and not being able to really live our lives with human dignity. He says enough is enough, right? It has 2 meanings. Enough is enough is we can't handle this anymore. People are hurting too much. People are self-medicating with alcohol, with drugs, with anti-anxiety drugs. Even our kids in school, young kids are on anti-anxiety drugs. It comes up in our water system that so many people are on anti-anxiety drugs. And we watch hours, 4 6 hours of TV a day to numb our minds, and eat food that's not good for us because we can't afford healthy food. And then we get diabetes. We can't afford to go treat because we don't have health care like every other country in the Western advanced world that sees it as a human right, and it's good for everyone in the nation to heal the sick. I mean, it's not just something that Jesus talked about, healing the sick and helping the poor and loving your neighbor as yourself. It's something that every nation out there in the Western nations, that we do business with, and people who say they love America, they already get it. They see human dignity as really important, not just corporate income and stock prices, growth. You know, growth. I know a lot of people in the marketing business, talk about growth hacking. Well, we don't need just more growth when we have such horrible income inequality. We have more growth of something that's un, unequal. You're just growing more inequality and more suffering. And what we need is to grow better, not grow more, not to grow richer, not to grow bigger, but to grow better in the way that we live together and have human dignity. in our lives, have equal opportunity. Equality is not everybody having the same income. As some of my conservative cousins who watch Fox are afraid it is. That's not the socialist plan to distribute income equally. It's to distribute opportunity equally. So it's not just how rich a family you're born into, or if you were a child of an alum of Yale or Harvard, like most of the people that get to rule our country that are in Congress or become president, they're either our Supreme Court, they're either from Harvard or Yale. Most of us, we don't go to Harvard or Yale. There are a lot of great people who do, and they contribute a lot of great things to the nation. But a lot of us, don't even go to college. Well, we work jobs, and we learn trades, and and so everybody deserves an equal opportunity to have just a decent life where you could apply your trade, you can learn, improve your life, you could read, you could do artwork, you could get into theater, you could volunteer for organizations to make the world a better place, and not worry that your light's going to be turned off, your kids won't be able to afford to go to college, you won't be able to afford to pay back your school loans because you're 20 years, 30 years later, you're still in debt. You should be able to just start your family, live your life, and contribute to this country and to your community and to your family, and spend time doing the things that you love. The founders of this country talked about the pursuit of happiness. Liberty is no good if we're always working just to pay our debts off. Then we're no better than serfs in some kind of new feudal system where the very wealthy, the new aristocracy, control, like the Walton family of Walmart, they control all the wealth and the jobs, and they set our wages, and we have no choice of where we can work. Yeah, you can work for this McWage or that McWage, and that's our choice. Because everybody needs food, you need to pay the rent, you need to take care of your kids and see that they go to school and they're safe, and you need to keep a roof over your head and be able to send them to the doctors and not worry that you're going to go bankrupt, or you can't afford your high co-pays and deductibles and have a $5,000 deductible comes out of your pocket if you get sick, so you don't go to the doctors. I mean, that's madness. That doesn't work. Every other country that has single-payer healthcare, they pay less for healthcare per capita, and they get better outcomes. They get healthier. Less of them die. Okay. And they spend less money. They have a lower overhead. They don't have to pay their CEOs hundreds of millions of dollars in stock options and advertising on these stupid commercials we see for every drug and their side effects. Hey, they say your head's going to fall off, but if you take our medicine, ask your doctor if it's right for you. They don't have to sell and hawk their medicine on TV like that. In fact, they get to lower Medicare. We pay more than anybody else for our drugs that we need to save our lives, to treat our illnesses, because we don't get to use the force of the market to lower the prices of drugs by having Medicare or a single payer system say, hey, we've got the buying power, we want a better deal. Right? Business can do that. Businesses do it all the time. That's how Walmart lowers their prices. They say to people, if you want to sell your hat or your shirt or whatever in Walmart, then you've got to bring your price down because we have the buying power. And if you want to do business with us, you've got to lower your price. And the prices come down. We may have to send them to China, but the prices come down. But we don't get to do that with our life-saving drugs. They can charge whatever they want. They can double, triple it 100 times the price for cancer-saving drug, life-saving drugs for cancer or any other disease. And, well, there's just nothing you can do about it. What are you going to do? Go to another health plan? And you're in a health plan. You get one health plan to be in. You got to be in that health plan for that year. And they all buy their drugs from the same few companies. It's immoral. People are dying because of this system, because they want to make more money. And greed isn't, what life's about. It's about our family, our families having a decent life, ourselves having just a shot at enjoying this beautiful country and our beautiful neighbors and family members. And like I said, having human dignity. That's what Bernie Sanders is talking about. He's not talking about crazy ideas. He's talking about what the rest of the advanced Western world is doing that works, right? And he's talking about building a moral economy, and he's going up against the biggest forces in the country, the biggest, most powerful billionaires, the military-industrial complex. They're making the trillions of dollars off of wars that make no friggin' sense, no sense at all. We go to nation build around the world after we were told by George W. Bush he wasn't going to nation build, right? And then we attack, and our Congress people go along with him, Democrats and Republicans, and say, yes, to war, we're going to attack what? Iraq, who had, nothing to do with 9/11. But they did have oil. The first, war, the acronym was Operation Iraqi Liberty, OIL, right? But that's no reason to send our young men and women to die or to cause an entire region of the world to blow up and become on fire like it is now, and millions of people to be displaced around the world and flee for their lives with nothing but the shirts on their back, with their children in their arm, crossing the waters and dying in the waters to get into Europe. That's what happens when we let our Congress just do whatever they want without listening to the American people, and the press doesn't do their job and says, let's go to war, and they beat CNN, beats the drum beats to war, and MSNBC and Fox, and they say, bomb them. Yeah, but it's just the press is supposed to ask tough questions. Who are we bombing? What will happen next? What happens after we depose Saddam Hussein? Even Dick Cheney said during the first Gulf War, we shouldn't invade Baghdad. What are we going to do after we depose Saddam? Who's going to come next? It could be worse. What will happen? It could be civil war. Even Dick Cheney said that. And now we're all suffering around the world for the mistakes of our politicians and the press that didn't do their job at all to ask hard questions. They just towed the establishment line because they want to make money. They don't want to upset the people that spend so much money with political ads on their network, right? They spend billions of dollars on TV ads to attack the other guy, the Democrats, the Republicans, right? The two private clubs that run this country. And the press doesn't want to call them out on their mistakes or say, why are you sending our children to war? Because these corporations, they make billions on the elections. That's a lot of money. They're beholden not to us, not to our children. They're beholden to their stockholders. And we don't own, most of us don't own a heck of a lot of shares of CNN and Comcast, MSNBC, Fox. The shares are owned really by the wealthiest 10% of Americans, own over 80%, I think 90% of the public shares. Your 401ks don't amount to that much. They don't care about us. And not enough to ask hard questions to keep our children safe from, be it from Monsanto or from stupid wars that cost our children their lives, or they come home ruined, devastated, because it's not human to go and watch your friend, your buddy, get blown up beside you. It's not normal to point a gun at somebody and shoot them. It's not normal. It does something to the mind, to the human spirit, to see your friend who you went to boot camp with get blown up by an IED in their Humvee, in their Jeep, and have to pull them out of a burning car and see their devastated bodies, and then go back and walk your patrol the next day. It's not human. It's not normal. It destroys people's lives. So Bernie Sanders is saying we shouldn't be going around the world trying to depose leaders. We shouldn't be building this massive military empire with 800 bases around the world when We have people, including veterans, living on our streets. I drive down the street every day. I drive every day down through the 405 in Los Angeles and get off the freeway. There's somebody living in a tent on the off-ramp. You drive under the off-ramp, there's somebody or 3 or 4 people with an American flag next to their life possessions in a shopping cart and a tent, sucking up fumes as we all drive by on our way to our crappy jobs trying to make a living or pay off our school debts. And they're just living there, hundreds of thousands just here in California. As the rents go up and more people, mostly single moms, the greatest group of rising homeless people, single moms, becoming homeless. And they're not doing hardly enough about it. It should be a crisis. We should call a constitutional convention across this country, an Article 5 constitutional convention. We should solve homelessness. We should put the health of our people, the health of our planet, climate change, homelessness and hunger, disease, poverty at the top of our priority list. I don't know what these people in Congress are thinking, but they're not thinking about us. They're not thinking about human dignity. They're not thinking about our children, our grandchildren, and their children having a good life like our grandparents thought when they escaped Nazi-held Europe. My grandparents, when they escaped Romania and came here with nothing, with pennies in their pocket, didn't speak English, had to teach themselves English and teach themselves a trade and work to create a better life for their children. And that's what my dad did when he went to the Army and came out with a GI Bill and taught himself a trade and worked to create a better life for me and my brothers and sisters, and we went to college. So these Congress people that aren't doing anything to help us, right? They're not ending the wars. They're not rebuilding our streets and bridges. We have bridges falling. I saw on the news, another bridge fell down on cars. And they could be creating jobs that would feed people, construction workers and everybody else that would be in the chain of those jobs. They could be creating that work right now, putting millions of people to work. And a job does give you some dignity, some self-respect. As a man, I can just speak for myself, and I know we tie our self-worth to being able to take care of our families, and there's human dignity in being able to earn a living and care for your loved ones. And so many people, especially people who are my age, in their 50s or older, are out of the workforce because corporations aren't hiring people who are 40 or 50 or 60 years old. You're not going to get a job. They say work until you're 70. You can't get a job if you're 40, 50, 60 years old, right? You have some college. But what are you supposed to do? Not all of us can drive Uber, Lyft cars around and drive doctors and lawyers around or serve them Jamba Juice or coffee every day. And even those people, I talk to them, they're miserable. They can't pay their school loans off. They can barely pay their rent and their books for school. And there are older people working in those jobs too, people with degrees. Okay, so this is why we're upset. Bernie supporters, Trump supporters, middle-class people, white people, black people, Mexican people, Asian people. Because things are too difficult, they're unfair, they're rigged. We're not sharing in the economic growth, the massive wealth in this country, massive wealth in corporations in this country. We're not sharing in it equally. We're not getting a fair share. We used to get a fair share of all of the corporate, all the business wealth. Wages went up commensurately every year. I remember. I earned good money back in the 80s. And our wages went up. My salary went up. Our hourly pay went up as businesses and productivity increased. And then all of a sudden, around the time of NAFTA, and I'm not blaming it all on NAFTA, but around that time, and we were told all these factory jobs, I had a good factory job, would be replaced with good. We don't want those hard jobs that we were told by Bill Clinton and Reuben and Larry Summers. We want the good computer jobs, And not all of us were going to get them, and they didn't retrain us, and those jobs didn't show up. And all of those people, those millions of people who lost their ability to earn income, who just had to struggle and sell stuff online and sell their furniture and downsize to a different neighborhood, to smaller apartments, to move their families, that hurt millions of people. And then we had the massive greed of Wall Street just wipe out our wealth, just flatten people, especially people of color's wealth, because most of their wealth is in real estate. Just wiped out people's savings, their dreams. And not one person, maybe one small fry, went to jail for that. They got bonuses, millions and millions of dollars, better jobs. They got promoted up. That's not justice. That's why we're pissed off. We remember the Wall Street greed that ruined our lives and that nobody was sent to jail for it. And Mr. Holder, who is now retired, went back to the Wall Street firm he came out of after not prosecuting any of them because he said it would be too disruptive, that they're too big to jail. We remember that. We know that when people come out of these Wall Street firms that they go back to, that they're not for us, that they're not regulating these people who are paying their salaries. They're not keeping us safe from them. Well, that's why we're upset, and we want somebody to go and fight for us like Bernie Sanders. We want to fight beside him. We want to send our hard-earned remaining money to support people who put human dignity, the health of people, the health of the planet first, above corporate quarterly profits, who put peace first above endless war, peace and diplomacy. Because we can't be safe unless we're strong and we're well educated. We're healthy and educated. We can't be a safe country. Even people in the Pentagon come out with papers saying that our greatest threat to our security is not ISIS. It's not Al-Qaeda. It's income inequality and climate change. It's our poor health that we don't even have enough healthy people to join the military. So that's what we need to focus on, rather, is health as the real wealth in America, as to focus on good education for everybody and working together, because we're only as strong as the weakest among us. We are, our fates are tied to each other. And I don't know what these really greedy people, I'll say people, are thinking, that they're going to outlive the results of this greed. That their children will have to live with their decisions to keep our wages low and keep shipping our jobs overseas and replacing them with machines and robots, telling us that we'll be retrained for jobs that never show up. Their children will have to grow up in a country where millions of people are angry because we know we've been sold out, and we know we've been mistreated. We know that our democratic establishments rigged to keep us down, to keep us sick and tired and divided and angry at each other, instead of the people who are ripping us off, who are stealing our money to give it to their friends. They call it crony capitalism. It's really theft. It's grand theft middle class. And we're pissed off. We're pissed off that our votes don't count because our politicians listen to the donors, that they have to spend 4 hours a day dialing for dollars. They walk across the street, the Democrats and the Republicans, every day they walk across the street to a telephone room, telemarketing room, and they call rich people every day and say, hey, I need to stay in business. I need to stay. That's what it is in business. If you want me to keep my job, you need to donate more money. Instead of doing their job and finding common ground and helping our schools improve and helping our roads get rebuilt and helping our health care be affordable, housing be affordable, instead of doing that, our food be safe, right? Helping our farmers and ranchers and people living in the rural areas, the Native American people, helping the justice system work better, Instead of doing those things, creating a new electric grid that doesn't go out every winter when it rains, instead of doing their job, they're on the phone talking to rich people, begging for money. And then they tell us that doesn't affect, that doesn't influence how they legislate laws. Please, the same rich people hire lobbyists, 100 lobbyists for every congressperson, and those lobbyists write the laws like Citibank did to put into the legislation that most of them don't even read. They get briefs from their aides, and they vote on them. They don't always even show up for the votes. So we all know that the system's not broken. It's working the way that the 1%, the 10%, the wealthy aristocracy in this country designed it to work, to keep us poor and angry and distracted by TV, reality TV, reality political TV. That's what these shows, Fox and MSNBC and CNN is just reality, so that they put on Trump and nonstop so they could sell toothpaste and they could sell oil and they could sell fracking, they could sell war, and they could sell everything to their sponsors by showing controversy, and they don't put on news about the things that we need to know about. We don't know about what's going on in the rest of the world unless we're bombing another country, or there's a plane crash they could run 24/7 while they sell commercials. We don't know that in France the children have chefs cooking their public school meals with healthy food, and they spend less money. They spend less money per student than we do here, and that people get an hour to eat their lunch, and people care about their employees being healthy and happy, and get paid more for the work that they do, because they realize that happy employees are productive and going to be there and help their company grow. And not everybody's as greedy as they seem to be here in America, but we don't get to see that because corporate TV doesn't make money off of showing us how people live in other countries of the world, that they get to enjoy their lives and have human dignity. And it's not all about money. And this is why I've been supporting Bernie Sanders. I know, it was a long shot that he would win, but I'm hoping that he started to wake people up, and now it's up to us. It's up to all of us to get together. It's up to all of us to literally get out there, not just to protest, not to protest at conventions. Those conventions are rigged, just like the election. We need to get together in our communities and meet each other and join groups. Whether it's an environmental group, a seniors' rights group, protecting waterways, whatever you care deeply about, animal rights, right? Creating more peace in our communities, racial and criminal justice reforms, helping the elderly. But we need to pitch in, because our problems are too big. Our government isn't going to solve it for us. We are our government, and we have opted out, been told to go shopping, watch TV, and government will do what government does. And that doesn't work. Okay, you can't turn your back on people with that much power, in charge of that much money, and expect that they're going to put our interest first, or even the planet's interest first. Like Alan Greenspan said, "Oh, I guess I was wrong with my worldview about Wall Street doing the right thing and not just being greedy until the whole system blew up." Oops. Yeah, people will be greedy, and that's why we need people to participate, to come in and run for office, and to help people that are running for office, to find people who share our goals, people who share our values of putting health of people and planet first, and donate to them, volunteer time to them, and just meet in general. Go meet at the firehouse. They have public spaces, the library, the coffee shop. Get together and talk about your community, your goals. Hey, what are we doing about homelessness in our town? What are we doing about the kids having enough books and materials? And what are we doing about teacher pay and about incomes rising so that people aren't working 3 jobs to survive, and even then not surviving and being so stressed out. What are we doing to advocate for peace, justice, equality, and fairness in our country? But, get together and share information that's not disseminated from the corporate TV news people. You can find it online. You can find great sources of information. Read inspirational speeches from great leaders. Do book readings. Do open mic time get-togethers. Let everyone have 5 minutes of free time speaking about the issues they care about. Reach out to help independent businesses, right? Have a day of shopping on Main Street to small independent businesses and help to support people starting co-ops, worker-owned co-ops, where workers share in the decision-making. So all the money doesn't just stay at the top, but it gets shared evenly and fairly amongst all of the workers. We can do this together, but it's going to take all of us. This political revolution Bernie Sanders talks about, it's not just electing Bernie. It's not going to a rally and chanting, Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. I was there from the beginning. And Bernie said, it's not about that. It's not about him. He said from day one, Bernie said, we have to all do our part. We have to participate. You have to stand up for what you believe in. You got to get together. You got to get together, people. Meet. Get off of your computers, off of your phones, walking around doing this all day, and meet together and make protest signs. Talk with each other, share goals, get to know who your elected leaders are, your city council, your assembly, your state house leaders are, your school board leaders. Make a list, find their phone numbers, call them together about your issues, and invite them to your meetings. You get enough people together, you get 50 people, they'll come. You get 500 people, they'll get nervous, and you bet they will come. Don't wait for them to have a town hall meeting. Make your own town hall meeting and invite them. They will show up, and tell them this is what our priority is. We want to do something about the homelessness in Los Angeles or San Francisco or San Diego or Detroit or wherever you are. We want you to do something to help these people. We want more jobs. We want a clean environment. We don't want people fracking in our neighborhoods and gas leaks like in Porter Ranch. We want to move to sustainable energy that's safe. We want a better share of this economy. We want to go to school, have our kids be able to go to school. We want to go to college and not get broke and be in debt for the rest of our lives like the rest of the country does. We want health care. We're tired of paying high deductibles. We're not going to the doctor because we're afraid we're going to have to pay high deductibles if we're sick or our kids are sick. It's not right. We want single-payer health care. Right? Advocate for yourself. Speak up for yourself, your families, your neighbors. Talk to your neighbors. Get together. Have a meeting. Put out flyers. Put up a Facebook group. Create a local event. Everybody in this zip code. We're going to be meeting at the park on such and such a date. We're going to be talking about the homelessness problem, and we're going to be trying to brainstorm solutions. Please come. Bring some canned food. Bring some ideas, good spirits, blankets. Let's go ahead and work together as a community. Solve this problem. That's how we're going to do it. That's the political revolution, in my view. And so I love Bernie Sanders for standing up for me and for everything that we believe in, for human justice, human dignity, for justice, equality, for these great aspirational goals, And I talk to people every day wherever I go when I'm in line places about how their life. I listen to people, ask them how their life's going, what they're working on. They go to school, what they're taking, if they're working, what their job is, and then I tell them about how we can make things better. I tell them about how important it is to vote and to support people who share our values and priorities, to get together in our communities, and we can make a difference. I tell them about Bernie Sanders. I tell them about other people who are running like Bernie Sanders, and I tell them to just keep showing up and don't quit on each other. And we can make a better life for our families, our communities, and our nation and our world. We can be advocates, but we can't just sit back and complain. We can't sit back and tweet and blog and post and go back to work for the same slave wage corporate monopolies and vote for the same corporate sponsored politicians and think things are going to change, and let's just watch the next trending thing on Twitter or the next TV show and hope things will get better tomorrow. It won't get better unless we make it better. And we need to start creating our own businesses that are not tied to Verizon and Comcast and Walmart and all of these corporate wage slave factories. We need to start supporting each other's independent businesses and sharing them online and building our own independence like Gandhi did. When Gandhi helped his people to get the Empire of Great Britain out of their country, he had them spin their own wool instead of buying it from England, right? It was an exercise in self-rule and self-independence. Well, we can do that too. We can make things. We used to make things. We still do make great things in America. Okay? We can make more things in apps too, right? I mean, my father used to make furniture. His father used to fix roofs. And, we have a proud tradition of being great craftspeople and tradespeople and farmers, teachers, engineers, right? We can make great things together if we reach out to each other and work together and opt out of systems that don't work for us by building better systems that do. Okay? It'll be gradual. We won't be able to remove ourselves from corporate ownership, but we can start by investigating something called worker-owned companies, cooperative, worker-directed companies, where they put the community's interests, the customer's interests, and the worker's interests on the same par with profits. They say, let's keep everybody employed instead of firing people to make more shareholder profits, right? Instead of doing $5 million or $1 billion stock buybacks to drive up the stock prices so that they can get more options, stock options, and make even more millions of dollars. God knows why they need even more. We could go ahead and say, let's just keep hiring people because people need human dignity. They need a job. They need good work. Let's listen to our workers because they have good ideas. Let's pay them a fair share and have them vote on the direction of our companies. That's what co-ops do. Okay? A credit union is a type of co-op. There are food co-ops, there are apartment co-ops. There's all kinds of business co-ops. Go ahead and look into Google worker-owned businesses and co-ops. How do I start a co-op? How do I convert my company to a co-op and get involved? And start your own business. Start an online business. Support other people's online. Ask them what they're doing on Twitter. Hey, what do you do for a living? How can I be supportive of you? How can I share what you're doing with my Twitter followers, my Facebook, Instagram followers? Right? Because we're stronger when we work together. And that's what Bernie's about. That's what we're all about. That's what this political revolution is about. So I wrote this book about, it's called Burners for Democracy, Creating a Civic Startup. It has ideas about how to form a local group of your neighbors to work together to make things better. And I'm going to share it with you on my YouTube channel and Twitter at Joe Segal, Joesegal. And look forward to your input and working with you as we move forward to make things better for our generation and the next generation and all of this great planet, Mother Earth. And thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Let's make things better together. Thanks.